Hello, sisters and brothers. I'm sorry not to be able to join you in person this evening for such an important discussion about the events in Cuba on the 11th of July and since. I'm so proud of Unite's long history of internationalism, working with our sister trade unions across the world. You know, the bonds of solidarity and friendship between us and Cuban workers have included numerous exchanges, from attending each other's conferences to voluntary work by our young members on work brigades, and of course the long fight for the freedom of our Miami Five. Over many years, in all our contacts and discussions with Cuban workers, their unions, and with the Five and their families, we have witnessed the impact of the inhumane blockade and interventionist US policies on the people and the country. These policies have prevented the nation from developing to its full potential and hindered trade with other countries who wish to invest and work with the island. Let there be no doubt, Unite fully acknowledges the essential grievances of Cuban workers and their families due to shortages of food, power, and medicines. These became much more acute during the Trump presidency due to extra measures imposed by his administration, and they have not been alleviated under President Biden. These, along with the COVID pandemic, are the root causes of the disturbances. Florida was held by Trump in last year's presidential election, and Biden, with an eye on a possible re-election campaign, has effectively thrown in his lot with the extreme right wing in Miami, leading members of which, including the city's mayor, have even advocated airstrikes against Cuba. The United States has been running a blockade against Cuba for almost 60 years, and since 1990, the blockade has been condemned year after year as unlawful by the United Nations General Assembly. The hypocrisy of the US Congress angers me. They talk about the sanctity of the law, and yet they have ignored international law for decades. The US and its singular ally, Israel, are perpetually on the losing side in this vote that even the United Kingdom under Boris Johnson supports. Such is the all-embracing nature of the blockade that last year a consignment, quite disgracefully, of COVID-19 medical aid, including PPE ventilators and testing equipment, was prevented from reaching the island. Despite developing its own vaccine, a shortage of syringes and other medical resources is hindering the speed of Cuba's mass vaccination rollout. The Cubans are already possess the necessary infrastructure to ensure that materials and medicines get to where they are most needed. And the simplest measure President Biden could take to avert a crisis in Cuba would be to lift the blockade, which the United Nations estimated has cost the Cuban economy $130 billion. That's a staggering amount. Funding from the US for Cuban opposition groups since Trump assumed the presidency has amounted to $17 million. Talk of a humanitarian corridor is cover for US intervention from Guatemala in 1954 through to Chile in 1973 and elsewhere, more recently in Latin America, has never been beneficial for working people. The US government's insistence on this blockade amidst a global health crisis doesn't advance the rights and welfare of the Cuban people. It only causes more suffering and shortages. Unite is pleased to have contributed to the Cuba Solidarity Campaign emergency COVID-19 medical appeal for Cuba to help provide medicines at this difficult time. And we are proud to have supported the campaign for the Cuban doctors who have volunteered around the world to help fight the pandemic and in other humanitarian emergencies over the last 15 years to receive the 2021 Nobel Peace Prize. We stand with the Cuban unions, which have said what Cuba needs is for the blockade to be eliminated. Unite calls on the President of the United States, Joe Biden, to immediately and unconditionally lift the illegal blockade. My message to the President is show the world that you are different than Trump, and herald a new era of cooperation that will benefit the Cuban people. I send my best wishes to all my comrades in Cuba. Keep up the fight, and your British comrades, brothers and sisters, stand shoulder to shoulder with you.